Welcome. Welcome to the Hearts at Ease podcast. My name's Sasha. Hearts at Ease is where we step into the garden. We're planting new seeds and we're creating a life that we've been avoiding, but we so deserve. And I created Hearts at Ease years ago. And so some of you, it's a welcome back if you've been tapped into my episodes on Spotify. Welcome back. It's good to see you. It's good to have you. And for those of you who are just being introduced to this podcast, I want you to know that I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. Time is everything. And so if you're giving me your time, I appreciate it. So it's been years since I've been on my podcast, and before we get into that, because I'm going to explain, and I am a person that usually I'm in a place where I'm working to not explain everything, just leaving it where it's at. But I believe an explanation is good to provide because I want people to know that the things that I was going through is not an excuse, but life was lifing, and also the things that I learned about myself may be helpful to someone who has had similar struggles about something that you really, really want to do, something that you love, whatever it is, something that you're thinking about creating right now. So I believe an explanation from me about my own passions and the barriers I've had to address and work through to come back to this space could be helpful. So, there's been some actions that have really changed the course of my life over the last 4 to 5 years. And so, I started this podcast initially as a diary to myself. I was someone who struggled to use their voice when it came to myself. I can do all the things for other people, but when it came to myself, it was just a struggle. So, I started just doing some voice recordings on my phone, and then I'm like, I felt called to share some of those things in real time, but I was also processing in real time when I got on those episodes. It was just raw. It was just, and so once again, here I am. This season, I would say the things that you will hear me talk about are things that I have had time to process. I have had time to work through, and now I'm ready to share that process and just my own discovery on this journey, this beautiful journey of life. So I have my handy dandy notebook with me because I don't want to miss telling you guys about anything. And I've done a lot of planning and preparation this time. Like I said before, it was just like hit the button, go off, but I really want to capture so many things when I'm talking, and so I got my notebook just to keep me on track. And also, journaling and journals in general are such an amazing tool that I used to just tell people, because I've been a counselor in my career field, addiction, for 8 years or so now, and I be telling my clients how they need to journal, but my ass wasn't really journaling like that. So, you want to practice what you preach. For real, because the thing that you sharing with somebody might really be for you, might really be for you. Um, so anyway, guys, here goes everything. Get settled in, get a cup of coffee. I have some coffee, some tea, whatever, you know. Um, let's talk about it. Here goes everything. So like I said, when I first started this podcast years ago, I believe at that time was the start of my first awakening. Because I believe you just have so many. You can have so many. Every time you come to a different belief about something that you've always believed, every time you come to a place of addressing something about your identity that may have been put on you, that you took on whatever persona, you know, and you're thinking about that and you're curious about that and you're ready to change that or discover why that's there. Why do you have these beliefs and things? That's an awakening, you know. So during my first awakening, so much was happening. I was questioning my not even the job itself. I was questioning just like, there's no way I can do this type of work for 30 plus years. Because I believe at the time, the conversation around um the conversation to increase the age of retirement was being discussed, or may have just been finalized or something. I was like, it just hit me like, you know, at that time I was still very much um talking to God in this way, and I say it at that time because that's changed the way I have conversations and what I've come to believe about um God, the universe, and these type of things. But at that time I was like, ain't no way in hell, like, who God created me. There's no way they simply created me to do this for 30 plus years. Like, or however long. I think somebody was, you know, it was a day at work where they was getting on my nerves. So I was already in a space, but it was just like, fuck no. I got to, I got to figure something out because this is not going to do it. Like, I'm not satisfied. And a few other things was happening. My relationship, my marriage was hanging on by a thread, and we were, you know, I had initiated divorce at that time, and it was just so many things. I felt really lost. I felt lost in my career choices. Like, I had got to a place where I was making the most money I ever made at a job. I was in a leadership position and things of that nature, but I just wasn't happy. I had a house, I had the car paid off, like all the things, you know, that I was told that would get me to happiness. I was sitting at my desk like, nah. There's more. There's something else. There's something else. And so I did what I used to do when my life becomes dark in the way that it got to, and I started writing to just cope with it all. Um, and that's where you guys, you know, learned some things about me when I first started the podcast, because I didn't keep it to myself. I mean, I did, as I didn't give all my business. Like, some of the things I spoke about in those episodes, I was still pretty vague. You know, I didn't go into deep details, but I was still trying to find my landing just with using my voice. You know, they say, I don't remember where I saw it, but that the gifts that you may be blessed with can be blocked early in life. And my voice has always been one of those things I feel is a gift, but I was experiencing some blockages because I was always kind of told to just, hush as a kid and stuff like that. And so the minute I find my voice, I also get scared. I used to get scared and retreat, retreat back. Wait. um, and so I was trying to, I believe, find my landing, and I was facing so many truths about myself, patterns about myself that I didn't want to face. I wasn't ready to face it, and so coming into the space of a podcast, I'm the type of person. I have those moments of you know when I think of something to do, I possibly will do it. I might go ahead and pull the trigger, and then later I'll be like, ah, shit, let me. No, why did you do that? um, and so when I got on this podcast with you guys in those years, man, I was being so emotional and vulnerable. Like it was beautiful. Like yay, Sasha. But I was like, oh shit, I'm being seen in such a way that was just difficult for me to be seen. Ooh, to be seen. And so I would come out a bit, then I'll go hide again. I would get distracted in something else, because that's something I used to do. If I don't want to deal with something, I'm gonna distract myself with some other shit. And so you guys, unfortunately, received quite a bit of inconsistency for me. And so for those of you that express your excitement about me releasing these episodes before, and how it resonated for you or changed something for you, thank you. I appreciate the the insight and the comments that were left under the episodes. But man, it scared me. It scared the shit out of me even more to know people were listening and that I was being seen in such a way. And so, although I set out on starting the podcast for myself, I love helping people. I do. But I had to take a minute to save myself. Like I said, I was going through divorce. I was questioning career, and I also, with being seen in such a way, I also had many thoughts of what if I'm successful with this thing? Like fear of success also I feel came into play, and I don't like not feeling in control of what happens next. Um and so I learned a few things during my time of sitting with my shadows, because divorce happened. Um the end of that job happened, and I feel like the universe put me in a place where it was like, you have no choice. You do. You can continue to distract yourself with this bullshit and different things, but this is really a time for me to sit with all the things that I was refusing to sit with. And so, the things that I learned that I want to share with you all here today is fear. Fear has us in many places that we don't want to be. Hell, has us fear is the matrix. Fear is the matrix itself. If you can unpack the fear and turn that into faith in yourself, faith over fear, you got the cheat code. You really got the cheat code. And so fear is necessary because it is a part of just our process of growing. And this season is like coming back to the garden, it's coming back. And I use that metaphor because me and it reminds me that everything requires patience and also preparation. Everything, if you can just prepare your space, first thing is just having some belief, but then you put a little, you got to prepare. The preparation of something will help you get over the fear a little bit easier, and you could still do the shit with fear right beside you. Like I'm a bit nervous, coming back, but I'm not scared this time. There isn't fear, but still just allow yourself to feel what it is, but know that you could still do the thing with fear, and fear is just a part of your growth and the journey. And hey, I want all of it. I'm fine with all the emotions and all the feels at this time. I ain't used to be. I used to be like, keep that feeling shit. Keep that feeling stuff over there. But so that's the first thing. The second thing is consistency matters more than perfection. And so your small actions are going to water your seeds, And it's just like anything in the garden, right? Anything you plant. It takes time. It takes time, and it takes your nurturing and your care towards that thing for it to grow. And that's a beautiful process, to just be like talking and seeing the little things happening with your seeds that you've planted for yourself or for others. Just start to blossom slowly, and that's such a beautiful process. Like, if you allow yourself to just be present with it and see it, and know that those small actions of talking to it, or talking in this way of, like, for me, I started talking to myself more in a positive way, even if I didn't believe the shit at first. Affirmations for me, like, I used to go into it, I have many, and it wouldn't be like the first time I'm starting with those affirmations that I believe the shit that I've put down. I put it down because I want to believe it. I want to believe it. And after a while, I know that if I continue to put out these affirmations to myself, I'm going to step into that belief for myself. Because if you know, I've done the same with negative shit, right? Like, um, the more I plug that in, the more I believe that shit about myself. So it's like, let me apply the same energy to that I apply with the negative stuff to the positive. And let's see what that do for me. Like, why not? Why not? Why not see? you know? And so 3 is, you must face the fears, right? Whatever they are. It kind of just coincides with first thing, is that fear is a part of it. But you have to face the fear, because once you face it, you create the space for what truly matters to thrive. You can't be in both seats. At some point that fear turns into courage. And once you sit in the seat of courage, you have allowed so much space for all the things to support you, because you did a courageous act. No act or no thought goes unnoticed, like not recognized, even though you might think so. the unseen is so much bigger and more powerful than the seen, and so lean into it, and I'll tell you this, there is never a chance of you missing out what is meant for you. Real quick, I'll tell you guys this, something that since I've been off my podcast, there were so much shit happening, right? And as I was like trying to figure out my stuff, because I ended up doing many things during that time when I had that job that ended for me. I said I was making the most money I've ever was making. I was messed up, y'all. Messed up, like mentally, because I've always worked many jobs. I've always had a plan, I didn't have anything as a backup. Like there was, and I had some funds to lean on during the time, but I didn't have no backup, and so there was no plan B. And so I made a decision to like start a business during that time. And like I said, keep in mind that if I have a thought and it keeps coming back sometimes I just pull the trigger. Like once I get the courage, it might be for 10 minutes. I may act. And then later I'll be like, "Oh shit, wait a minute." But I acted on it. I wasn't ready to start my business. I can say that. But I started it. And because I was already like taking on fitness training and stuff like that. So I started a business that focuses on fitness and life coaching. And I will say I have had some realizations about the approach that I took and some things that I am in the process of changing currently. And we'll talk more about that in some later episodes, but for right now, I'll say, that happened during that time. And I also went back into, working with addiction as my business is growing. But during these kind of later, these more recent years, even in the last few months, right, there has been people, when I'm talking to them, the first thing they ask me is, are you a writer? Do you have a podcast or something? Because like the stuff that you just said to me, like really just gave me a different perspective, and I appreciate it. And like, I feel like, wow, like you made it sound so simple and easy and da 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 da. And I've always had that, I'm a counselor, right? Like I said, so I always feel I do have a way of well, people feel they can speak to me and we can just have this like really beautiful conversation. Sometimes it's a challenging conversation, but we still get something from just having that talk with each other. So that in one day recently, 3 people asked me, am I a writer or do I have a podcast? And I say yes. And so that brings me back to just saying to you, like, what is meant for you, there is no chance of it missing you. Like, it's always going to find its way to you. And you're always going to know when you're in a situation or you're doing something that is out of alignment with what what the purpose is for you, because you'll feel it in your body. You'll be thinking about it all the time in a way of like, this ain't really it. Or, like the signals will be there. Your body will respond, your mind will respond, and your heart will be pleading, And so, um, the podcast, yeah, coming up 3 to 4 times in a day where I don't believe in coincidences. I was like, okay, y'all, okay, universe, okay, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. So just start planting your seeds. Plant your seeds. That's what we do. We plant seeds. And I'll say this week, I'm going to give y'all some homework. This week, take one step towards your calling, even if it scares the shit out of you, which it should, because you want it and you love it and you care. And when you care about some shit deeply, like, it's scary at the same time. Do some journaling. That's something that helped me just ramp up and get here. Set a small goal for it. It doesn't have to be anything big, and your actions towards it doesn't have to be anything big, but it's just something that's going to move you forward and not have you stuck and stagnant, and just see what grows. Always, tend to your mind, your habits, and your growth. Plant them seeds and pull out them damn weeds, And remember, your heart deserves ease. That's why we hear hearts at ease, because your heart deserves some ease. And I appreciate you all for tuning in. Remember the 3 things we got to address. We got to face them fears. We need some consistency. And yeah, it's really more like 2 things, but fear is just a part of it. So embrace the fear. Embrace it. And I'll see you all on the next one. Much love.